So looking at this graph, does it look like these points are going up or down? Down? Who agrees that it's going down? All right, so because it's going down, we know that the slope should be negative. And if I zoom in at these two, notice how this has a positive number and this has a positive number. So we can actually cross out those two options. It's either A or B. Now, the B value is where it touches the y-axis. So around this point, is that a positive 10 or is that a negative 10? Positive. So which one of those, A or B, has a positive 10? B. So that would be your answer. So in your bell work packet, you could just write the date and then write the equation. Yes.
How do we find the slope?
So the slope is basically, is it going up or down? So if you look at this, if we were to connect the dots, I always say, if you put a little man at the top, is he going up a hill or down a hill? This number is the slope. If it's negative, that means you're going downhill. If it's positive, that means you're going uphill. So there is an equation to actually find the slope, but we don't need to do that in this particular question. This question on the SAT is just figuring out if you understand slope and y-intercept. All right, so now let's go to our note packet and let's go to page 2. So we've actually already done, we have done this in chapter 2, I believe, where we had to add and subtract and multiply. But now it's called functions, and the main thing we're going to talk about is the different notations for functions. So instead of it saying add, it will say find f plus g of x. In other words, take the f function and add it to the g function. That's what that notation means. If you see that on the test, that means that they want you to add the two functions together. If there's a minus sign, that means subtract. This is where we have to distribute the negative. So can you write that here? We have to distribute a negative when we're asked to subtract. If it's just addition, we combine like terms. And if it's multiplication, that's where we're going to multiply it in a box. So those are the 3 different types of operations we're going to focus on in chapter 4. We're not doing division, just add, subtract, and multiply. Oops. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So for this first one, this is my f function, and this is the g function. And here is asking us to add. So I'm going to put x plus 1 on this first blank, and I'm going to add it to 3x plus 4. Now for addition, you're only combining your like terms. So that would be your x's. So that would be this and this. And then we're also going to add together this and this. So if you add the x and the 3x, how many x's do you end up with? 1 plus 3 is?
3x squared.
No, you don't square it. That's multiplication.
4x.
Yeah, so it would just be 4x. And then we're going to add together the 1 and the 4, and that would be 5. So that it would be your answer. That is the function you come up with when you're adding f plus g of x. Any questions about example 1? All right, let's keep going. So same thing here, we're adding. So I'm adding the f function to my g function. So I'm gonna write that. So now we're just combining our like terms. So our like terms would be the x squareds. We can add those together. There isn't another term with a 3x, but we do have 2 numbers that we can add. So when we do that, when we add our 1x squared and 2x squared, we get 3x squared. This one doesn't have a friend, so we're just gonna bring that down. And then we need to add the 1 and the -5. So what is 1 minus 5, or 1 plus -5? -4. All right, any questions about our second example? So now we're going to subtract. So when you subtract, that's where we have to distribute. So this is subtract. So I'm gonna put the 2x plus 9, that goes first, and then 5x minus 10 goes second. Now, because we're subtracting though, the 2x plus 9 doesn't change, but when you subtract, you have to distribute a negative, which means both of these signs are gonna flip. We're gonna do a change, change. So that +5 is gonna become a -5x, and the -10 becomes a +10, and we only have to do that for subtraction. And now you're ready to combine your like terms. So we have our x's, those can be added together, and we have our constants that can be added together. So 2x plus -5 is a -3, and then 9 plus 10 is 19. Any questions so far? Okay. Question D, let's go ahead and set it up. So we have our 2x squared minus 1, and then that's minus 4x minus 5. So let's go ahead and do our sign change. So the +4 will become a -4x, and the -5 becomes a +5. And we actually only have one pair of like terms. And the only thing that we can add together would be our numbers. So our final answer would be 2x squared minus 4x minus 4. Nope, not minus 4. Would it be -4 or +4?
+4.
+4. So in your homework on the front page, you have to do all 3. So you have to add, subtract, and you have to multiply. So today we're going to focus on addition and subtraction. This is our last one, I believe. Yep, one more question and then we will be done for today, but we're going to do both. So we're going to add these together, and then we will subtract them. So let's start off with negative x squared plus 2 minus, and then I'm going to put this function in parentheses. Nope, I'm sorry. We're adding first. Let me rewind. So we're going to start off with adding. So you don't have to distribute when you add. So we got that, and then we're going to just put our, just put it in the red tray. Put it in the red tray when you're done. Okay. And then we have this one. Okay. So now we're going to just combine our like terms. And the only like terms we have our x squareds that can be added together. And we have our constants that we can add together. So my final answer would be 1x squared, and then bring down the plus 3x plus 7. Now for subtraction, that's where we need to distribute. Okay, so we're going to distribute that. So everything that I have in red, we need to change the sign. So this is positive, it's going to become negative. So everything in this parentheses is positive. See, we had a positive 3x, a positive 2x squared, a positive 3x, and a positive 5. Everything is going to become negative. So we will end up with a negative 2x squared, a negative 3x, and a minus 5. Go ahead and combine your like terms. And you only have to do the sign change for subtraction. So you might want to write that in the box where it says subtraction on your homework so you can remember. And then we're going to add these together. So when I add together my yellow terms, I get negative 3x squared. I'm going to bring this one down. It didn't have a like term. And then 2 minus 5 is negative 3. Oh, wow, we got all threes. And that would be your answer. So tomorrow we'll talk about multiplication. In your homework, you can go ahead and get started. And we'll talk about multiplication tomorrow. So on the homework, can you write that it is due on Friday? So homework 1 is due this Friday for full credit.